The candles were still burning when the last employee quietly slipped out of the penthouse ballroom, pretending not to notice that the most powerful woman in the city was spending her birthday completely alone. The city lights glittered beneath the floor-to-ceiling windows like 1,000 promises, but none of them could warm the silence surrounding the wheelchair at the center of the room. Billion-dollar companies feared her decisions, magazines called her unstoppable, and investors waited months for 5 minutes of her time. Yet on her 38th birthday, there was no family, no friends, no laughter, and no one standing beside her when she leaned forward and blew out the candles by herself. She had built an empire so tall that nobody could reach her anymore. She thought the night was over. Then the elevator doors opened, and a single father carrying an old teddy bear walked in. Before we continue, if you believe kindness still matters, if you believe people deserve second chances, take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Single Dad Empire because every act of kindness can change a life in ways we never expect. Serafina Vale had once been the face of ambition itself. At 26 she had taken over her late father's failing technology company. By 30 she had transformed it into one of the fastest-growing corporations in the country. Business channels praised her intelligence. Newspapers called her the Iron CEO. Competitors feared her. Employees respected her. But respect and fear were poor substitutes for love, and she had spent so many years chasing success that she did not notice loneliness quietly building a home inside her heart. The wheelchair came after the accident. 7 years earlier, a rainy highway, a truck driver who fell asleep, and a few terrible seconds had changed everything. She survived, but the damage to her spine left her unable to walk. The same people who once crowded around her slowly disappeared. Some could not handle seeing vulnerability. Others had only loved her success and status. Even the man she had planned to marry left within a year, saying he could not live a life filled with hospitals and limitations. After that, Serafina stopped expecting anyone to stay. She buried herself deeper into work. She built higher walls. She became colder in meetings, sharper with executives, and stricter with employees. If she could not be loved, she could at least be respected. If she could not have warmth, she could have control. Control felt safer than hope. Her assistant had organized the birthday gathering because the board insisted. A few executives attended, carrying expensive gifts and polished smiles. They talked about quarterly reports, mergers, and stock prices. Nobody talked about memories. Nobody asked if she was happy. One by one they left, claiming early meetings and family obligations. Family obligations. Those words always hurt more than she admitted. Now the room was empty except for the untouched cake, the fading decorations, and the city beyond the glass. Then the elevator doors opened. The man who stepped out looked completely out of place. He wore a simple button-up shirt with sleeves rolled to his elbows. His shoes were worn. His expression carried both exhaustion and determination. In one hand he held a small paper bag. In the other, an old teddy bear with one stitched ear. His name was Adrian Mercer. He had not come for the party. He had come to return something. Earlier that afternoon, his 7-year-old daughter had been receiving treatment at the Children's Rehabilitation Center funded by Serafina's company foundation. Adrian had been raising his daughter alone since losing his wife to illness 4 years earlier. Every hospital bill, every therapy appointment, every sleepless night had become his responsibility. He worked 2 jobs, skipped meals, and sold nearly everything valuable just to keep moving forward. His daughter, Hazel, had spent months at the center after a serious illness weakened her muscles. The foundation covered costs they never could have afforded. While leaving the center that day, Hazel had found an article online about Serafina's birthday. She saw a photograph of the CEO sitting in her wheelchair and asked a question that Adrian could not answer. Who celebrates a birthday alone? Hazel had hugged her favorite teddy bear and insisted they bring it to her. Because nobody should be alone on their birthday. Adrian had tried to explain that powerful CEOs did not need old teddy bears from little girls. But Hazel insisted with the kind of certainty only children possess. So he came. Security almost turned him away. It was only because he carried a letter from the rehabilitation center thanking the foundation that he was eventually allowed upstairs. Serafina looked at him with confusion as he approached. He gently placed the teddy bear on the table beside the cake. The bear looked ancient. Its fur was faded. One eye had been replaced with a button. Its stitches told stories of years of love. Adrian explained that it belonged to his daughter. It had comforted her through hospitals, treatments, and nights when she was afraid. She wanted Serafina to have it because she believed brave people should never feel alone. For a moment, Serafina forgot how to breathe. Nobody had given her a gift without expecting something in return for years. Nobody had looked at her with simple human kindness in even longer. She stared at the teddy bear as memories crashed into her. Her mother reading bedtime stories. Her father carrying her on his shoulders. Birthday parties filled with laughter before success became more important than connection. Her eyes filled with tears she had spent years refusing to shed. Adrian noticed the untouched cake in the empty room. He recognized loneliness because he carried it too. Grief knew grief. He spoke softly about his daughter. About losing his wife. About learning to braid hair because Hazel missed having her mother do it. About pretending to be strong even when he was terrified. Serafina listened, not as a CEO, as a person. For the first time in years, somebody was not speaking to her title. They were speaking to her heart. The afternoon sunlight still poured through the windows, turning the room golden. It was a bright day outside, beautiful and warm, painfully different from the cold isolation she had carried for so long. She asked about Hazel. Adrian showed photos. A smiling little girl missing 2 front teeth. A little girl holding that same teddy bear. A little girl who believed strangers deserved kindness. Something inside Serafina cracked open. Over the next few weeks, she visited the rehabilitation center without cameras or reporters. She met children fighting battles bigger than most adults could imagine. She met parents exhausted from carrying impossible burdens. She met hope. She met Hazel. Hazel immediately asked whether the teddy bear was helping. Serafina laughed for the first time in what felt like years. It was not a polished executive laugh. It was real, and real felt unfamiliar. As the months passed, she found herself spending more time away from boardrooms and more time with people. She still led her company, but she no longer let it consume her entire identity. She expanded programs for families struggling with medical expenses. She personally funded counseling services for single parents. Not because it improved public relations. Because she finally understood what truly mattered. Adrian never treated her like someone broken. He never pitied her wheelchair. He saw the woman behind the title. And Serafina saw the father who kept going despite carrying unbearable pain. Healing did not happen all at once. Some days were still difficult. Some nights loneliness still whispered old lies. But healing rarely arrives as a miracle. Sometimes it arrives as a teddy bear. Sometimes it arrives as a child who still believes kindness can save people. Sometimes it arrives as a single father brave enough to walk through an open elevator door. 1 year later, Serafina celebrated another birthday. This time the room was different. There was laughter. There was cake. There were children from the rehabilitation center. There was Hazel proudly sitting beside her. There was Adrian, and there was the teddy bear resting near the candles. When she blew out the candles that year, she did not wish for success. She wished for more time with the people she loved. Because love had been the one thing money could never buy. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe to Single Dad Empire, and leave a comment because your support helps these stories reach people who might desperately need hope today. Special request before we end. Comment the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe one small act of compassion can completely change someone's future. Serafina once believed strength meant never needing anyone. But the truth was far simpler and far more beautiful. Strength was allowing yourself to be loved. Strength was accepting kindness. Strength was choosing hope after heartbreak. And somewhere in a city filled with millions of people, a little girl gave away her favorite teddy bear and unknowingly saved a lonely heart. Sometimes the greatest miracles do not come from power, wealth, or success. Sometimes they come from ordinary people who refuse to let another person face the darkness alone. And perhaps that is what makes kindness the closest thing we have to magic.